Venture hustles, this is venture hustles. Turn nothing to something, start a business, get it jumping. Ay, told myself that I would make it and I'm never quitting. Staying motivated and I started with a vision. Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit, you just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Ay, venture hustles, time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
Welcome back to Venture Hustles, episode 3. This is Saj, Jack, and Horton, and we talk about everything tech, startups, entrepreneurship. How's it going, guys?
Going well. How about you?
Good.
Yeah.
It's nice and sunny outside today. It was, I think, 70s at some point.
Yeah.
It's been
we're getting there.
a little up and down.
In New York,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting there.
Yeah.
So,
How's the week been for everybody? How's any
week
fun
has
highlights?
been pretty crazy. Fun. I think it's a mix of fun.
Yeah,
you know,
you
and-
sound a little reserved there.
Well, stress.
It's one of
Stress
those weeks.
becomes fun at some points.
Okay.
I'm sure to our, people listening, you guys know what I'm saying.
Stress
Yeah.
becomes fun.
Well, sometimes you just have no other choice. You have to make it fun.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good outlook.
You
It's
know.
nice to know what I was said, but
Yeah.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Job needs to get done.
exactly.
Well, in this episode, you want to tell everybody what this episode's primarily about?
Yeah. So EP3, we wanted to focus on. So for those who know and for those who don't, last episode we pretty much covered startup and how to start a startup.
Yeah,
Right.
EP2.
Yep. So now I guess a little bit more of like a build up of that. We wanted to now focus on products, how to sell products, what kind of products that you may be offering, and kind of that's really going to be like the main focus.
Yeah, deciding what you're going to do after starting a business, right? So if you have a business, what is your product or service? And actually deciding on that.
Yeah, last episode we talked about so many different things. There's so many different components, right?
Yeah.
But I guess this episode, it focuses primarily on businesses that have different product ideas and services, and just kind of like narrowing down. I think we also talked about networking, which is a really big thing, and especially in the startup tech world.
Yep.
And I think we're planning on doing an episode about that in the future.
For
right?
sure.
So we'll cover that. But for today, the goal is product and service ideas, basically figuring out if you're let's say you're some sort of a professional services company and you're trying to introduce a new product service, a new service or a new product, and add to your product line and your source of revenue, or if you have an idea and it's primarily centered around one main service or
industry for that matter.
Industry for that matter, yeah. So just figuring out what the thought process would be to basically dissect and break down what is the appropriate approach and if this is going to work or not. You know?
So I guess with that said, where should we start? I think why might be
why?
a good
It's always
place.
good. Why? Yeah.
Yep, start with why. Like, why was the business started to begin with?
Yeah. Well, let's keep it open-ended, right? It could be a business or a product or a service that they're offering, right? So, I guess I can start with my take, and then we can kind of go around.
Yeah.
Would probably
What do
be it's really simple, and a lot of people should already know this. Is there a demand?
And if you don't, it's okay.
If you don't know, I mean, like if they're in the process, like they should know. It's like kind of like, is there a demand for it? Is there a need for a solution for this problem? Is it a problem? Even is it something that needs to be sorted out?
And are people expressing that?
Yeah, are people expressing that or? But I also want to clarify, right? A lot of genius, incredible solutions that exist from a technology standpoint in this day and age came from people just thinking outside of the box and providing a solution before it was even visibly noticeable that it was an issue and people are voicing about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Henry Ford in the car.
Yeah. I was also gonna take like another approach where let's say that there is a problem that you recognize, and there is a solution out there already. There's so many places now where, there's people that feel like they can provide that service, but just better. That's why you have
reinventing the wheel.
Well,
Exactly.
innovation, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Building out a smoother system, more effective system.
Yeah.
So, I guess with that, like, why? So, let's say, I guess I want to go more in depth into, when you see that there's a problem, right? Like what might make you think, or what makes you guys think that there's a need for that solution? So maybe, how would you go about figuring that out? Maybe some key, steps, indicators I think are pretty big, in that regard.
I think we have a good example. EP4 is going to be blockchain, and we can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think in this day and age now, I think it's very rare to find true problems that need solving, right? And
Really?
when I say this,
I can think of a gazillion.
Well, I'm thinking more of from an innovative perspective, or people coming up with startup ideas, right? It's very difficult to do that because it's of course we have a gazillion problems.
Yeah.
But
Talking about scale and actually making a business out of it.
Making a business out of it. And the reason why I say
Not
this is
everything
because
works.
think about the last 10 crazy things, right? Let's think about technology, right?
Okay.
This is the world where we come from.
Yeah.
Like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok.
Uber.
What problems are they solving? Nothing really.
I would argue that there's a problem.
Well, I think boredom.
My point is, you can come up with 50 reasons of them solving quote unquote problems, but they're not really real world problems that they're solving.
I think it's more so boredom, and the fact that at this point, if you take a ride down the street, you don't even see kids playing outside anymore. They're inside doing something.
Well, they're entertainment alternatives, and that's really what it is. They're social media is just that, right? It's just staying in touch, and how are you staying in touch with anybody? In TikTok, it kind of diminishes the original value of social media, of why it was created to begin with, I remember, and I'm sure you can relate, I kept in touch with a lot of people back, when I left Kuwait and I came here permanently. I kept in touch with a lot of people that I grew up with through Facebook. That was if anyone's like, why are you using Facebook, what is the purpose, what is the IP? That was the IP. And of course all the other messenger tools, you remember AOL and
the messenger. Yeah.
But now everything.
What was your ad name, by the way?
For what? AOL?
Yeah.
Sorry, not your ad name, your screen name. Wow, we've definitely evolved. What was your screen name?
Damn, it's always been the same. It's a CJ Back in Time. It's really weird.
What is it?
CJ Back in Time.
Any significance?
We might have to unpack that one.
Yeah, we'll unpack that some other time.
I like that. Yeah, we definitely want to unpack that.
Yeah, it was really weird, but but that's my point, right? That's just one element, right?
Yeah.
It's not really solving a truth. It's just kind of reinventing the wheel, and it's just adding more elements of but it's one of the biggest platforms. These are some of the biggest platforms in the world right now.
Yeah, you know what I also think is a good. I think something that we're going to see or start to seeing more and more now, because kind of like you just mentioned, it's hard to think of reinventing the wheel or being, innovative. Where now, I think there's we're in a place in time where I think there's a lot more people that, let's say, have been working in a particular industry doing a job.
Yeah.
And they say, you know what, F this. I'm going to go do it on my own now, same industry, and just do it better. Because I might have more insight than the owner, let's say, who isn't doing the day-to-day stuff that I'm doing.
He's doing what needs to be done. Yeah. 100%. I've seen it. I've seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
I think there's no harm in that either. I respect the people that hustle, and of course, if you're kind of stabbing people in the back in the process to do that, then
you never want to do that. But
but
it's always a bloodbath out there anywhere.
Yeah, but.
I was watching Billions the other day, and I'm like, this is some I was watching season 6, and it's pretty crazy. There's ways to do business.
Mm-hmm. Oh no,
yeah. I like honest business better, but I do understand
100%.
the aspect of people being cutthroat, because unfortunately it's a dog eat dog world.
Yeah.
But back to Snapchat real quick. I think the bigger thing to your point about people trying something getting out of a job, a lot of people are looking for an exit. So it's not so much just solving an issue; they're really trying to add to see what they could sell as intellectual property, and then get an exit that way as well. For example, with Snapchat, they didn't really revolutionize much, but Instagram and Facebook pretty much adopted what they did in their own. They reverse engineered it to some degree.
That's a good point.
That also kind of brings me to the point of you can't really copyright ideas. This is exactly
Oh,
why
that's
they were
never
able
been a
to-
thing.
Yeah, that's exactly why you can think of the next. I mean, if you're out there listening to like this podcast and you're like, oh man, I have a better way to revolutionize Snapchat or TikTok, go for it. No one's gonna stop you. You're not gonna get sued.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You know, but
Instagram
you
did
will.
that with Reels and then
Facebook
stories.
has some, Facebook,
Yeah.
Even kind of like YouTube Shorts, like low key.
Oh yeah, that's definitely TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess circling back to what we were talking about, which is is this a problem that needs to be sorted? So I think that's a good way to kind of start, like, if it's
For
not
long
clear,
term.
right, for long term. But if it's, let's say you're kind of stuck in the mix of like, okay, I don't know if this is a big problem, but I think that this can be a solution that can be improved and made better, then that can be your starting point. You know, so I think the reason why I brought up Snapchat was to just make sure that, hey, you shouldn't be fully discouraged by the fact that if it does, you know.
I think one thing to highlight though is that example is based on the existence of the second generation of the web in existence, right? When Web 1.0 came out, there are a lot of things you can invent. Then Web 2.0 came out, a lot of things you can invent. If you get caught up in what has been around for a while, then you'll get stuck in this isn't much new because everybody's tried something. Now it's Web 3.0, third generation. This is the wave to ride to pretty much provide something new.
Well, I want to get a little technical with one thing.
Go ahead.
Just to kind of give the audience, my dad actually, the audience some insight on the minds and the psychology behind these services. And let's use TikTok, for example.
Shoot.
TikTok is the biggest craze right now. It's insane. It was blowing up. And honestly, it's riding pretty high. A lot of businesses are kind of adopting TikTok, and there's so much. Why does
Allegedly, it's an
TikTok?
intelligence app.
Why does TikTok work? Right? TikTok works because it doesn't work because it's a brand new innovative concept and no one's ever seen anything like this before. That's false. It's literally a video streaming platform, right, where people can record and then they can stream and
Short format,
right? There's Vine right before that, right? That was kind of like similar. They had like a looping system.
Wasn't that good,
right?
Yeah.
And then they weren't able to like kind of maintain that, and then they just fizzled and died.
Yeah.
User adoption wasn't there.
I think the 6-second thing killed them too.
The 6-second thing killed them. TikTok, I mean, of course, like TikTok changed really fast, but the reason why TikTok works, and again, there's nothing innovative about it. There's nothing new.
Let's go. Get to the meat here. I'm dying to hear this.
The meat is TikTok got a few things, two main things right.
Okay.
That is basically prime cheese for their target demographic.
I see what you did there, like a little meat and cheese
A little meat and cheese
type vibe. All right,
a
go
little
ahead.
bit, yeah.
I don't know these guys.
So what they did right, knowing their target demographic, was two primary things. One was they reinvented the UI and UX wheel.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That entire element of how you consume video
Yeah.
has been changed within just one minor UI UX change, which is how you go through the flow. Instead of you going out and finding another video, or you swiping right, which is what you're comfortable with your brain. That's the way it's fixed. Just kind of going up and down.
Ongoing forever. You can sit there for hours, unfortunately.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally that. And number
Okay.
two is they were absolutely amazing with their algorithm.
Okay.
That's
That's,
true,
what
too.
I was waiting for.
And
I was
their
waiting
IP
for this.
is basically constantly evolving their algorithm.
Yes.
Maybe even more aggressive than Google does.
Without question.
Yeah,
like-
definitely a good argument
So
there.
those two, and again, none of these methodologies like changed like over time. Like, I mean, it got improved,
Yeah.
but the way they implemented it and improved and created a product that was just perfectly plated and given to the audience was just eaten up. So that's my thing. Like, if you're thinking about the next TikTok, it can't be, oh, let me change the color scheme. Oh, let me cater to just kids or just adults over 50, right? That's not going to do anything for you. You really have to think outside of the box of, all right, this is a problem that doesn't really need to be solved. But if I'm reinventing the wheel, what am I adding as an added incentive or something that stands out in terms of intellectual property for someone to be able to get on and be like, all right, I need more of this.
Yeah,
It's
you need
addictive.
a good hook.
So, how much do you know about like the algorithm?
What do you mean, like the back
Like how
end
it
of how it
works.
works?
Yeah, like how it works, yeah.
Do we want to get really detailed on this?
I don't know, just like a brief summary because I just want to share something cool.
why
or-
not?
it's not really cool. Maybe potentially like
Well, why don't you share it and we'll go-
conspiracy like type of thing. So
Let's listen to
So
the conspiracy.
conspiracy?
The
Yeah,
alleged
100%.
intelligence app.
So, well,
This
not
is-
not
this
only
is-
that, but
Let's disclaimer, clear disclaimer. This is a conspiracy. This is a controversial.
Yes.
Well,
Not
this is
this is-
alleged. We don't know in the
It's
sense
alleged.
of.
Okay, all right.
So
Yeah, this is all alleged.
now, obviously, we know that it was built in China, right?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
Chinese app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that said, there have been so obviously, I guess a brief summary like how the algorithm works. Like whatever you consume, like the app pretty much just pushes out like exactly what you keep consuming, and then that's why you're there for 8-10 hours. So, conspiracy starting semicolon right now would be that like the people that developed the app, like let's say for the U.S. Right, with the algorithm, like they're like you have to think about what's making in the U.S. what's popular on TikTok, dance moves, like just trying to get views, like in terms of like significance to the person,
Idiocracy.
Right.
idiocracy. Now what I've heard is in like China,
Oh, they
is
banned that shit.
well, no, not even that. Like, what gets them popular is like mathematics and
Yeah.
like education and like things that let's say would build up
Really?
like
Yeah.
your
So why is
intel.
this a controversy? I believe that.
Well,
I'm
because-
like that's not shocking to me.
To some degree, they're
I mean, you guys call it
working on
controversy,
building up their society with the building blocks that will actually help create a better future.
And what are they
Meanwhile, in
doing to
America
us?
is dumbing us down. That's the
So
a
this
conspiracy.
sounds like. Oh, so wait, where'd you hear this?
I heard it. I forget the individual, but it was on Mr. Rogan's podcast.
Okay, so I think
I
he does
think
a
it was
lot-
Mr. Rogan. I think it was Mr. Rogan.
Okay, Mr. Rogan.
Mr. Rogan, yeah, Mr. Joe Rogan.
So, first
I
of
think
all,
you'd probably prefer just Joe
Just
Rogan.
Joe?
I
is
don't
this
think
like
he's that old.
is like a recent podcast?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Like, I don't not believe that. Like,
I know I know.
Like,
It's kind of crazy though to think about. It really is. Like it's kind of nuts.
listen, man. I think Americans like to have fun, and there's also a reason why we have the highest, talent in the world. There's there's
To
a
find talent though, that's
there's
the
a
thing.
balance.
Hold up.
There's a balance.
The reality, I think, is one, America has lost direction in the sense that we don't make anything. We just make people, like famous people. We literally do not produce anything on a global scale other than that.
In terms of if you're talking about, I think that's a much deeper topic and a
100%,
conversation that we should
100%,
probably
but
dive
maybe that
into.
can also
Yeah,
now
yeah.
lead into right
Yeah.
from a product service type of conversation, depending on what you're offering, you would want to consider where you're getting it made from a cost perspective.
All I got to say is
Oh,
as someone
sure.
in Europe, someone in Czechoslovakia, right, is not going to go to has the next big Tesla, right? Is not going to go to their biggest if they had an offer on the table.
They're coming to America.
from
you're saying.
from the top VC in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
Or a pretty prominent VC in America. They're coming to America.
Without question, free enterprise in America.
It's not just that. It's like this is a platform that lets you breathe and develop it with almost
the brave?
as
Land of the
much.
free.
Well,
you
without
can
trying
succeed and you can also significantly fail. I think that's one of the other
like-
part of it.
Yeah,
I think
just the
adoption is
chance.
just I don't think there's a better nation in the world that lets you adopt and just freely just
Yeah, without
grow.
question.
So with that being said, anyway, so I think kind of going back to, I think one of the other things that we were talking about is who's this idea? So let's say you've got a product idea service, right? Who is it going to serve?
Yeah.
Who's this for, right? Because we were just talking about
Do you think-
demographics earlier.
Yeah. Do you think as I guess the question, right? Let me frame the question is the problem that you're trying to solve, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Do you think that the founder, let's say, is experiencing the problem, or maybe he recognizes the problem?
It could be both.
Okay. Now, which one, let's say, do you think is better? Because for me, if I have a problem, right, and I want to think about who am I serving, right? Now you want to start thinking about, okay, what kind of person has this problem?
Yeah.
And then that's how you obviously would now start to narrow down, okay, this is who I'm serving.
Yeah.
So I guess now the question becomes, let's say from a founder's perspective, do you think there's an edge of you actually experienced the problem and now you're creating the service, or it's why is that like that? let me do something about it.
That's true. Both sides exist.
100% both sides exist.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have a pretty like thorough, deep like story on this, and I don't really want to go deep into this, but like one of
You
my
want to
first.
unpack that?
I don't want to unpack that. Like
I really like that. Just so you know.
yeah.
I like it. Go ahead.
But basically, like one of my first startup ideas was basically a platform where you can find like-minded individuals that are, let's say, just moved into a new college, don't really have any connections or any people that they don't really know or what it is, and just to network and grow, right?
Okay.
Nothing like this existed back in the day, but it wasn't also something that
Facebook didn't exist. It's a joke.
It was but like
It was a targeted market though.
Yeah.
To college students.
It's not just Facebook groups existed, and it was different. It was more about like if you're a college student and you're looking to kind of come in and network or go to different parties and events and stuff like that. This was the platform. But then I quickly realized that this wasn't that big of an issue that to others as it seemed like to me.
So
it
you
was
created
like
the kick of a
So
group?
then it like pivoted to like an event ticketing company.
Okay.
Oh, I said Kick because nobody remembers Kick. The messaging app.
Kick, yeah. Kick.
K-I-K.
So now wait, I have a question for you though. Did you experience this problem and that's why you created the business? Or you sort of recognized the problem and then created it?
Well, actually, did you experience this problem as a result of coming from another country and then you're looking for people to network with?
No, so the thing is like it was more of like I was in Brooklyn. And I lived in Brooklyn for a few years, and then like moving into like Staten Island and that transition, it was like it was more of like I was out of like the educational realm for like a year or two, and it kind of like took me out of like, okay, I didn't really have school friends, or I didn't really, you know what I'm saying? So I was like,
so you experienced the problem.
It was again, my situation was so rare, and I don't know how rare it was because I was out of school for that like time frame, Okay.
And just a little background, you came from another country, you had finished school there, and then you pretty much had like a sabbatical.
It was like a transitional phase that was like weird, but then at that time, when I was thinking about that as through college, like while I was going through college, it was like, okay, maybe this wasn't like a crazy thing. So we quickly adopted and changed it to that made sense a lot more, still within that market, but catered more openly where that idea would work.
The service change.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pivot, like when you talk about pivots and like so that's probably something that we should probably touch on as well. But
we can do that.
But like this was kind of going back to what you were saying, which was, is it a problem that is happening to you that you're trying to solve, or is it something that you see that you're experiencing, or
maybe you just need to get your shit together.
It could be both. yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a growth process.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to start with the big thing out of the gate. Sure. Even a lot of people, Zuckerberg created a bunch of companies before Facebook became a thing. Just a bunch of failed ideas. So
yeah, you can't be afraid of failing. You can't be afraid of rejection. You can, I mean, as cliche as all these things sound, it's honestly reality. And a lot of people are so afraid to even start because they don't know what they would do when they fail.
Well, school prepares us for that. School system here.
Does it?
Yeah. Oh, you fail? You're an outcast, or you get made fun of by the class.
You know, it's like a really good take on this.
Well, that's the school system, yeah. I can only speak about here because I only gone to school in America.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's everywhere. I think it's worse.
Robert Kiyosaki has like a really good take on it. He's pretty vocal about it.
Yeah, that's probably where I got it.
Yeah, it was like a couple of things. Like number one, like when you fail, it's like a penalty.
Yeah.
Then number two, which I think am more of like a fan of. Which is like from a collaboration standpoint. What just happened there?
Emergency text from Ernest. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Shout out Ernest.
Okay. So, like so I guess do you hear number one or no?
Yeah.
Which was? So number one, which was failure.
Why don't you tell me what it was?
Okay, yeah. So number one, which is failure, right? So you get penalized like for failure. It's not good to fail. But number two, which like I was mentioning, like I'm kind of more of a like I'm not gonna say fan, but like, I like the way that he said that, which is from a collaboration perspective. You're taking a test. You shouldn't work with anyone. You're by yourself. Okay. So his perspective is like in the world of business, like number one, it's good to fail because like you'll learn, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, is there penalties and is there like consequences? Sure, but more from a collaboration standpoint, like in business, no matter whatever you're doing, like
You learn
you
to
need
work
a team.
together. Yeah.
You know, like
Oh
if
no,
you want
for
to go
sure.
quick,
Yeah.
you want to go quick, you do it alone. If you want to go far, you do it with the team.
You
know?
can only do so much alone. If your goal is to scale, grow, build an empire with a group of people that are like-minded, you absolutely need people that can do things that you can't do. You know, so 100%.
Everybody complements each other.
Everybody
Yes.
complements each other. You grow together, and you encourage. You know, it really depends. A lot of people have the misconception of what a successful business is. You know,
Okay.
and again, the word success is very, very subjective, right?
Very much so.
Very much so. You know, there's different metrics. Like we talked about this. I don't know if it was one of our meetings, which was like different metrics measure different KPIs of what success really is. You know.
Yeah. Key performance indicators.
You're an
Equals
events
KPI.
company, you sell tickets, that can be successful. If you can also be an events company and your goal is to raise money, that can be considered successful. If you're an events company and your goal is to
So
build
success
an
equals
audience,
goals.
it could be to build an audience. It could
Yeah.
be getting more likes and people to follow your company. That could be another metric, and they're like, great, that's successful. So it's very subjective.
Well, yeah.
You know?
Well, I think it also like aligns with goals. Like if you complete or achieve your goal, you would say, I've reached success.
Yeah, it just can't be delusional optimism.
I mean, of course.
Right, that's my point.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, I think we're getting close to some of the main things that we want to wrap up with here. With is I think the other things is to identify is like who's your target demographic, your target audience. Like we talked about like who are you serving, but like get down to the nitty gritty, right?
The supply and demand, essentially, who actually benefit this, who would grab a hold of what you're providing, and then pretty much scale it from that perspective. The more people like TikTok, it was a lot of young people. Then older people got caught. Like technology will always go to young people first because they're the ones who are more open to learning about it. So over time, it becomes popular. Parents see their kids or nieces and nephews or whatever, and then eventually they're like, "Oh, okay, I want to join in. I want to be left out."
Yeah. Well, I
So.
think like
FOMO.
Yeah.
There's that too, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in regards to like figuring out, like, because I think, like in regards to figuring out who you want to service, right? That market, figuring out how to service them, right? And then I guess once you, let's say you're a little bit successful at that, now it's trying to figure out like how you can more efficiently service those people. So now you can start
Absolutely.
to like scale,
Yeah.
you know? So there's a couple of different like parts that I think is, you know, we can talk about it because I think it's important, you know, because
Yeah.
when you start a business, you're not going to service the customers. Like the service
let's
might
break
be the
this-
same. You're not going to serve them the same way.
So let's
Yeah.
break this down in two ways, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think the last part we were going to talk about today was the scalability, right?
Yep.
So now let's break this down. It's because it's different when it comes to an idea for, let's say, like a tech company. Again, we should be conscious about this when we talk about these topics, even when it comes to networking, right? Because there's like two sides to it.
Yeah.
FFP, what we do at Final Few Productions, is a professional services company.
Right.
So it's very different in terms of the way, like if we're not a startup, right? And then
True.
what we cater to, and a lot of our clients are startups.
Yeah.
You know, and shout out to our clients if you guys are listening to us.
Yep.
Basically, a lot of this
Oh,
would
yeah.
apply, right? So to the startups, let's say it's an idea, right?
Sure.
Let's say like a laundry delivery company, right? Or a laundry servicing company, right?
Yeah, that's what we used last time, I think. Or cleaning service?
I think it was
Yeah.
cleaning service.
That's one of our clients has the same niche.
That's true.
Basically, how do you scale? Let's talk about that scalability from like a tech startup's perspective, right?
Sure.
What are you guys' thoughts on that? Well, I think it would be a different approach to what we do at FFP or
Sure,
like a professional
definitely.
service company.
Well, professional service in the sense of like the laundry example, they'd actually have to have a laundry service to begin with, and then being able to provide those like quick turnaround times. All of those kinks would have to be worked out first, and then the technology component could be how that service is rendered. So it could be through an app, it could be through a phone service, what have you, scheduling, pickup, drop off, and all that stuff.
At the end of the day, like, while figuring those things out, it's about two things: speed and efficiency.
Yeah. And
As quickly and as efficient as possible, with obviously trying to or keeping the highest quality.
Yeah.
Well, it really
You know?
depends on like your idea. It depends on
Yes.
how crazy your idea is or how unique and different it is compared to what's out there. Like that's something that's like never been heard before. And if like your strategy should always be go to market like first, right?
True.
Get to market first. So my feedback would really just be when it comes to that. Test it out from small scale, you know,
Sure.
start out with a small scale. If you're kind of networking within a small community and you're trying to build your first customer base, set up palatable.
Palatable.
I think it's palpable.
Palatable was the word too. That's what I was going for.
Oh, did 2 different words.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 different words.
Got it.
But
Yeah.
all right. So I think one of the last things that we were talking about is scalability and how to scale. And
No, it was palpable and palatable.
and palatable. Yeah.
I
So-
misinterpreted that term. So my apologies.
My condolences.
I was gonna say my condolences, but like I was like,
Yeah, no one died here.
Yeah.
We're good.
yeah, no, I didn't say that. That's why. Yeah.
So I think it's important to what we're talking about is like to make that distinction of like if you're a startup or if you're a professional services company or a product company, you know, there's 2 different ways to scale, right? We can relate to both because we're a professional services company, Final Few Productions.
And scalability is like super important too. Like
Scalability.
that's kind of a place where some businesses might fail because they cannot scale.
They can't scale, they can't grow, or I mean, not fail, just they just stay stagnant and they just don't move and they don't grow. A lot of people just don't have the foresight to it, and a lot of people are just happy and content with where they are. I know a lot of these different types of people,
Which is okay,
Which
you
is
know?
okay. Yeah, it's important to recognize. But if you're listening and you're interested in scaling your business, these pointers are for you.
Well, you're definitely interested now. Inflation's up. You got to scale. If you're not scaling, you're just going to lose.
Yeah.
That is the unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
Now, so
Hashtag
route 1
Bitcoin.
was startups. What'd you say? Hashtag what?
Hashtag Ethereum.
Hashtag crypto. Hashtag inflation. Hashtag printing money. Go ahead.
Oh, they printed more money.
I don't even want to go into
Federal
that.
Reserve.
But
All right, and when you guys are done with the
Hiatus?
the crypto, I was going back to the laundry startup idea that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Scalability, and I think before we got into the cut, you were saying like in terms of like what are some of the core things to keep in mind.
Oh,
You know?
yeah. Pretty much being able to have actual proof of concept. You have to actually understand the business before you can convert it into a digital format. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, it's good. Getting to market first is great, but if you don't know and then you get to the market first, you'll be forgotten quickly because you didn't know how to adapt. So you got to understand.
I think that's a good point too. That I think is important, like understanding the business that you're about to enter.
Yeah.
So obviously, if it's a new, innovative, like project or business, obviously not much to really do there, right? Maybe understanding the market if there is one. But if let's say if you're doing that cleaning service, might be a good idea to reach out to people that are in the business and get to know the business more, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think again we use the cleaning like service as like a startup.
Why do we do that? Why would we do cleaning?
I don't know why it just came to my head. Like I know somebody in my family that has like a cleaning franchise.
Okay,
and
got
also
it.
like we have a client that basically is like a cleaning app for like cleaning services or laundry services. Sorry.
Sure.
So it was just stuck in my head. I don't know why, but basically I think is what I was saying. Palpable, bite-sized pieces. Is just test it out within these small communities where you can quickly test, get feedback, adjust, package, and steadily scale. Instead of like, all right, this worked, let's blow it up. From a tech perspective, of course, it really all depends on where you are. But a lot of times, like you figure out a lot of problems when you're in the beta test mode.
Yeah.
When you kind of get through, even if you we've done like surveys, if you survey 100 people that test your app and give you feedback, that's good, Yeah.
I mean, and also with that said, right, just to kind of just be clear, like typically the people know that they're beta testing, right? So they're expecting some problems and looking out for problems.
So it's a focus group.
Yeah.
Focus group, yeah. But it's also important to note, like this laundry service app idea is a lot easier to grow and scale than a social media app or a digital service
100%.
app. So that would be a much harder challenge to scale. So like again, we can probably make a topic out of this scalability and dive into different types of industries and spaces that we can probably talk about different tips and pointers for each of these spaces, probably in a later episode.
Yeah.
But we should talk about professional services scalability, right?
Okay.
Do you guys want to give like a live example of like what we've maybe done recently, just as an example?
For Finally Free kind of thing?
Yeah.
So what is the goal to scale, right? So be able to service more customers and clients at a more efficient rate. But I mean, efficient would be, speed, quicker,
Yeah.
and with more importantly, keeping the quality to a certain, standpoint, right?
Yeah, quality needs to be good. Cost efficiency, I think that's the only thing that I would probably put in there. Instead of like speed, I wouldn't put too much emphasis on like speed. Of course, that's a better for the company and a lot of times for the client.
Sure.
But I would say that's like for a company, that's really important is being cost efficient.
Yeah. I mean, some things that we've done. I mean, we're always obviously growing like the team, and that's obviously a main factor when you talk about like scaling, because when you're growing the team, you're able to service more clientele, right?
Well, we can just quickly give an example of like what we did with blockchain and crypto.
That's exactly what I thought we were going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably the easiest example. That's the fresh in our heads, right?
Yeah. So we offer a new service.
Yeah. So we introduced a new service where it required us to get different class and different type of developers on our software development team. So it was blockchain and NFTs and crypto. So this was something that we planned.
We've been thinking about it for a while, but they were just like, let's do it.
Almost like 6 months.
We got a higher demand for metaverse. So
yeah, we got like even within our regular clients, we kept seeing that demand. So it wasn't like we went too much out of our way. We were already pretty invested in it.
Which
Also,
would be like a problem that came to us, right? Based on
Yeah.
some of the other things we discussed earlier. In
yeah,
this
we can probably
episode.
talk about this in the next episode in detail as well as like our involvement. But to simply kind of summarize and wrap this episode up would be we figured out the problem, packaged it, right? It took a while.
First thing we did before any of that is we invested ourselves and made some money and lost some money to understand what the hell was going
Getting
on.
to know the business.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
So we spent 6 months doing that, and then
We spent 6 months doing that. Then even during that time though, like as we were doing that, we had a lot of other moving pieces. Like we were designing the site and the brochure and all of that stuff, like preparing the branding material. It wasn't like we woke up one day in January and like we released the service. All of that had to be prepared ahead of time. And then we released it in a small scale, in a very calculated way. And very recently, we got some good results and feedback. And now, next week, our main focus is to scale and blow it up. That's where the rest of the team comes in.
Yeah. So I mean, to like, so like to think about it, right? It's recognizing the problem, creating conceptually the service or the solution, testing it out. With the proof of concept, if successful, now you think about scale. So I guess, I always like to kind of give action points or clear steps for people listening. Like that's kind of the flow, right?
Yeah, getting a few closes and or people who are committed. Rather.
Advertising, marketing, like right after branding, advertising, marketing, talking to the lead gen, the entire sales pipeline, and then being able to close, and then knowing what works, what doesn't work, right? And then after that, basically thinking scalability.
Yeah.
Like that's the stage that we're at. So really all the things that we talked about today, which is identifying the I guess to quickly summarize, identify the product. Who is it serving?
Yeah.
What's the process, target demographic, and scalability. We just went through that cycle on our own.
That's true.
Yeah. So I guess as we're wrapping up here, for those watching visually, got a nice little new and improved little logo behind Saj. I like it. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think when they're watching these episodes or even listening to it, we have a pretty cool like intro track and animation that's gonna go with it. So
spoiler alert, low key.
Oh
no, they'll be listening to it.
Yeah,
Just look out for it.
That's true.
It's like Inception. We haven't cut it yet, so.
You said it's like Inception.
Yeah,
I don't think that's how Inception works.
Yeah.
But let's.
have you watched Inception?
Yes.
It's like
What
things inside
really good
things.
movie.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's
I
a
guess
dream within a dream. Is this a dream?
don't even get me started with that stuff. I mean, jeez.
Well, I
Might
think
be.
this is a good place to kind of wrap this episode up, right?
Yeah. I mean, Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. More so, hoping that you got something out of this, learned a couple of things, maybe push you over the edge to start something and give you some action steps. That's really the goal, is to be able to provide that kind of value and insight, from our experiences and what we do on a day to day. But, otherwise, like, follow, subscribe. We're on all the platforms that you might be looking.
Yeah, we're going to be on all major platforms. When you're listening to this, it's available. If you're an Apple person, if you're a Spotify, if you're on regular podcasts, if you're in YouTube and you like visual content, you have it all with us.
We're there.
We're everywhere.
There. Yeah.
Leave us some comments. We'll look at the comments and the feedback, and we'll address them in future episodes. Again, we haven't addressed anything yet. That's because we haven't really published yet. So this is, when you're listening to this is when we officially launched the podcast. Yep. So, yeah. And it's all happening in real time.
Yep.
Real time.
Yeah. Well, thank you, folks. Good night.
Later.
Enjoy.
Venture hustles. This is venture hustles. Turn nothing to something. Start a business. Get it jumping. Hey, told myself that I would make it and I'm never quitting. Staying motivated and I started with a